right in the heart of a silver bullet.
Let's talk about parenting in spite of. Parenting forward. Well, we got to get into this little section of it because this is a dysfunctional situation. It's not an ideal situation. Single parent and sometimes blended families is not necessarily it's not really the ideal situation of how it was drawn up to be. So, because of that, there are things you're going to have to deal with. It's going to be a lot of different moving parts. First, you're going to have to deal with two two different households, two different parenting styles. And you're going to be you, so you're going to have to stick to your guns and parent your way. So you might have to deal with the kid having this adjustment period where you know they vacillate to having different characteristics between the two households. And sometimes they bring the things that you don't like into your household, and sometimes they bring the thing that they don't like into their household. And then sometimes you have the situations where the kids pitting the two parents against each other and the parents are fighting at the same time. So you have to parent in spite of the situation, and in spite of the manipulation, in spite of the kids being used as a bargaining tool or a pawn too. You have to parent in spite of that. So when you run your household in whatever way you do, you have to take the adjustment period into consideration in the beginning. You know, like some kids are taught before they come to your house that they're on 10 being that you're the enemy. So they come to the house disrespectful. They come acting bad. They come hysterical and crying, and I don't want to be here, and I don't like you, and that's what they're given on the way to your house. You know, um, I remember having this experience where I was basically having my son, working in workbooks. I brought that up in another video about workbooks, but having him working workbooks, and I had him working, had him doing things, and he had a meltdown. He was young, and I never forget this because at a certain point, I did things on a time schedule. I would call at the same time all the time, and basically I would have him call his mother around the same time when he was with me. That way he gets accustomed to talking around that time. Um, but she wanted to do it her way, so they did it differently. So that's what it was. But he would come to me and I don't like you and I don't want to be here. I like my mom more than I like you and yada yada yada. And he was sitting in the room. I gave him the phone. I left him alone, and I got really good ears. So he started complaining. I don't like him. I don't want to be here. And his mother's on the phone like, I know you don't like him. I know he's a bad man, and it's okay. You only have to be around him this amount of time. And he's like, and she's fishing for information. What is he doing to you that's making you so upset? And he responds, he's making me do stuff like read. And then she just was like, uh, uh, okay. And then she's like, well, it's okay. You know, you don't need to be around him for that much longer. So she had him on a countdown at the time. And because I heard that conversation, I was like, yeah, I really don't like you as a human being, right? But these are those moving parts. Over time, things changed, things shifted. Um, but when you're parenting, you have to do it in spite of. Sometimes, you have to parent in spite of being the bad guy. Sometimes you have to parent in spite of being the good guy. You know, sometimes you don't want to mess up being the good guy, but you have to. And it's like, then it could blow the whole situation up. So even with it's like a culture shock sometimes. Sometimes you have to, we go to bed at this time, we get up at this time, these are the foods we eat, these are the things we do, this is the lifestyle here. And it's a culture shock sometimes to the kid. You know, like sometimes they rebel, and sometimes it's kind of fun and they fall in line. And sometimes, you know, they're taught to behave themselves, and sometimes they're taught to just, wild out, you know. And unfortunately, um, sometimes we don't, as parents, we don't get that. My dog is sleeping. That's him in his dream state, by the way. But now we have an issue, and the issue becomes this: you don't want to be the bad guy by being the good parent, and you're going to have to parent in spite of that. And sometimes you have a longer time to be a good parent. Sometimes you have a shorter time to be a good parent. You know, that's why I said it's even when you have custody. I've been in situations where I have custody and things are going so well, mom doesn't like it going so well. It's too good. It's too smooth. So, they've already got the kid programmed in certain ways. So let me, sabotage this. Like, the Winter Soldier is the type of thing when the guy told the Winter Soldier certain words and then he just went crazy. Some of these kids are programmed like that. And they can't see it until they get older, but sometimes you have to parent in spite of that. And that's why I say it's a lot of moving parts. And so don't get upset, don't get discouraged. Um, just know there's going to be some issues. Sometimes you have to parent. Oh boy. Sometimes you have to parent knowing that you're doing the right thing, and you're and your kid is going to be taught the wrong thing just because you taught them the right thing. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But you still have to parent in spite of that too. Now I'm gonna get some other videos in here because that's the beginning to this section of things that go on. So let's get started with those. I'm done with this. You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna tell you that.